Some common ground with the moon or the sun in Aries is leadership. It has to come from within.
For the stars, 'cause we're aiming high.
It has to come from within. It has to come from within.
When it comes to the sun and the moon in Aries, what is the subtle difference and what is the common ground when it comes to the qualities of leadership? Any planet in any sign is going to express itself in accord with the coloring of that particular sign. For Aries, like every other sign, it has its own spectrum, its own vices and its own virtues. And obviously, any planet is going to bring with it its own spectrum of vices and virtues, depending on what planet it is and how comfortable it feels in the sign it is in, as well as the current state of the individual soul's evolution we find ourselves dealing with. We will have to alter our determination accordingly in order to determine whether or not the individual in question is prone to express more of the vices or more of the virtues, based on the placements we have before us. The individual's choice of expression is often a result of the placement of the planet, the sign, the house, and the aspect in question, coupled with their soul's current state of evolution, which basically means what level their soul is on at the moment. Are they high-functioning masters or newly developing apprentices just coming into the game of life? Or do they lie somewhere in between? The sun in Aries is in its exaltation. Basically what this exalted word means is that the combination of these forces are complementary and therefore the virtues become magnified, which is good. The moon, on the other hand, to put it simply, is not necessarily feeling any type of way about its placement in Aries, either for better or for worse. The fact that the sun is at home in a friend's house and the moon is neither at home in a friend's house or, so to speak, or rather in the house of an enemy, the fact that it's not a prisoner, let's say in a foreign land, means that it is pretty much the first difference we run into in regards to the moon and sun when it comes to Aries. The sun's placement here is a bit more beneficial, although the moon's placement is not exactly detrimental. Some common ground with the moon or the sun in Aries is leadership. Both placements will, as Aries often does, find themselves in a position of authority. While both placements have leadership in common, the sun in Aries does well in leadership and is inclined to take a leadership role because it's who they are. It's their destiny and essence, as would be indicated by the sun. Sometimes being a little arrogant and opinionated and a bit insensitive to the needs of others. So while similarities exist as far as this is concerned, we find ourselves dealing with some subtle differences here. Those being that the moon is a bit more emotional than the sun. As well, we all may know that in a sign like Aries, it chooses to dominate others emotionally and assumes a leadership position mainly because it just despises taking orders and does not do well as a follower. Now the moon in Aries has the ability to excel in positions where quick decisions are vital, which makes their inventiveness and confidence tools that they can leverage as virtues, despite the fact that their tempers are often uneven. So it would seem that the sun in Aries likes to do its own thing and is taking leadership more as a result of having a desire to carve their own path rather than a need to avoid authority. Where the moon in Aries resents authority so much, it has to take a leadership role to avoid dealing with the fact that it doesn't like to take advice or to be told what to do. It can handle no other role but leadership. So to put this all simply, it's clear that some common ground between the moon in Aries and the sun in Aries would be that they both excel and rise to positions of authority and leadership. But the reasons behind their rise to those authoritative positions are slightly different, and they clearly matter. The uneven temper, right? And all these emotions of the moon present a whole different challenge for the person with the moon in Aries than the person with the sun in Aries, whose biggest emotional issue, as far as leadership might be concerned, is that they are often using their self-confidence to mask deep feelings of inadequacy. Despite the challenges both placements may face, someone with an Aries moon finds themselves with a dynamic and self-reliant attitude that is impressive to those around them. And the sun in Aries person finds themselves at the helm not because of a disdain for authority, but more because they feel themselves capable of command and they assume these positions of leadership naturally. The sun gives the Aries native enthusiasm to carry out those roles of authority. Both the Aries sun and the Aries moon must watch out for fits of anger that may pass quickly, and both must keep an eye on themselves to make sure that the militant nature, or rather their militant nature, doesn't turn their Martian tendencies into an abuse of their vibrations. They could very well use efficiently the Martian vibrations to accomplish their enterprising aims if they don't let things get out of hand. So you see, either way you slice it, there is a lot of energy involved in these placements, as the sign of Aries is filled with vitality. And whether you have an Aries sun or moon, or are dealing with someone else who has either of these luminaries, right, located in the sign of Aries, it's best to recognize the tendencies toward leadership, the disregard toward authority. And if armed with the information of the chart, of the natal chart, to spot the subtle differences between the moon in Aries or the sun in Aries, then by all means, please use this information accordingly and for the benefit of all parties involved.